attendance. And if you'll notice, there's a column on the far right of that yellow pad. If the list, where you can make a note if there's a special program you'd like to hear at future meetings. So that's my job. Is I'm not really an officer. I'm just doing the programs. But I'd like to kind of take a poll, and if there's several people end up saying that they want to hear about whatever, we've got a wealth of experience in the club where we can get a good program put together, just as Pete has got a beautiful program on using your smartphone to communicate via amateur radio, so that sort of thing. So please put something down in that column for me as that goes around. Thank you.
Okay, and the other, let me just give another thing. The other thing is, I think you've seen, we sent it out an email a couple of times, it's in the website, blog sites. It's a list of all the people that support the club in other aspects of it, okay? Ryan N0THY is our VEC. I'm trying to see who else is around here. Eric's been doing a lot of the technical work with the club, working with Chuck and Kevin. Those three guys are really into the repeater side and maintaining that, doing some new exciting things for the club. And there's a list of all these people. Tony from the Front Range, NA0US, is our representative to the Colorado Council of Amateur Radio Clubs, which is a group that actually does repeater frequency assignments and resolves conflicts with repeaters and other RF interference kinds of issues that happen. So we have a list of those people. Trish, N6SUM, Jerry's wife, does our website, Pete does our blog site, and on and on and on. Pat sends out emails and does all the programming. So all those people are really important to the club, and we do have that list, and we'll send it out again. And you can thank those people because they do a lot for the club in terms of the day-to-day operation. Nobody hears about it because you don't see those things behind the scenes. So that's it. So go ahead, Russell. Thank you.
All right. Well, first I want to tell you how I got this job. Bob sent out the email. I didn't see anybody respond. And because of my involvement with Aries, I've had the opportunity to become familiar with some other clubs around the state. And I didn't see any club that came anywhere close to ours. We really have a phenomenal club. So I emailed Bob and I said, well, if nobody else wants the job, I said, I'll step up and I'll do the job. But I'm one of the newest members here, and that surely, you know, maybe there's somebody else that's just been dying to do this job. Well, nobody else came forward. So Bob and I talked and spoke, and I said, okay, that's fine, I'll step up. But I want everyone to recognize just what a phenomenal job that Bob has done for this club, in building this club. And to emphasize that, or to illustrate that, when we had our first meeting, he says, oh, this is easy, Russell, this is what you got to do. He starts spouting off all this stuff. And it's just all off the top of his head. He says, oh, this person does this, and this person does this. Oh, you got to make sure you get this thing covered, and we have this event over here, but it's real easy because this person will take care of it. And what he just did, just now, 5 minutes ago, just starts rambling off all these people that do the things for the club, and this is all in his mind. This isn't written down necessarily in one big, here, Russell, this is the how to be the president of the club book. And so I've just been amazed at the more that I've learned about how this club functions, just amazed at the job that Bob has done in holding this together. So the good news is that Bob's still here. The bad news is that I'm the new president. And so I'm going to need all of your help because the people in this room have the vast knowledge and experience to make this club work. And so the period of time where this club is growing is kind of over now. Now we're going to have to be a mature adult club where the club stands on its own 2 feet and everybody pitches in, everybody helps. I'm going to need everybody's help. So for the future, I've heard some people mention, say, well, how about doing this in the future? How about doing that in the future? What I'd like to do is, if anybody's got an idea of what they would like to see, please, if you'd send me an email so that we can develop a vision plan of what we're going to have going forward, I would really appreciate that. My email address is judgerg@yahoo.com, and I'd really like to hear from you. I have heard some people come up and say, you know, let's do some contesting in some more difficult locations, such as at the top of Sunlight. Let's go up sometime during a contest, put up our antennas and do the whole contest at the top of Sunlight. Let's do some more challenging stuff like that. But if there's anything else that you would like, please let me know. All right, well, thank you very much. And I'll look forward to working with you all. And I guess that's it. Thank you. We'll go now to the attendees. They are Russell Granger, W0CDE. I'm out of Avon. Pete, and we'll work our way around the table.
Hi, I'm Bob Mayer, I'm N0KL.
Pete N0ECT out of Avon.
KD0WQC Dave out of Rifle. KD0FMJ, Glenwood. W0DED Don Rifle.
KB0HP Ken from Rifle.
N0THY, Brian from Rifle.
K3NI Clark from Placida.
KV3VSS, Pete Eckert from Brunswick.
KW5KJW Ken from Ballard Mesa.
KM5B, Jeff Carbondale.
KD0WAH, Joe from Eagle.
K0DXP Prentice, Missouri Heights.
K0JEG, Eric in Battle Mesa.
Kevin, KD0A, Glenwood.
Dave W83YNF, New Glenwood.
Phil N0KE, Petersville.
Colleen, K0GNT, Carbondale. Go ahead.
June from Carbondale, KE0HCG.
Good work.
You're allowed to introduce yourself, even if you didn't get your call yet.
I'm David from Carbondale.
No call sign.
Yeah.
Jim, AD0, Lima, India, Silt.
You have a name? What's your name?
Peter Golden. We don't, either one of us have licenses.
You can take a test
Yeah, we will.
today?
Not today.
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
Brent, KD0WAK, Parachute.
Frank S., Glenwood Springs, KD0KT.
I'm Bob, K0ALN, Aspen.
Sue, N0DBY, Glenwood.
Bob, K0VOZ, Redstone.
Richard, K4ULD, Glenwood Springs.
CE, KJ7TS, Battle Mesa.
I'm Jerry, N6HUQ, Glenwood. Actually,
I'm Pat, KV0K from Canyon Creek.
Bob, K9MWM, Glenwood Springs.
All right. Then I know we have one person taking an exam after the meeting. Is there anybody else? You're the one that I think. You are too? So two. Anybody else? Testing? Testing, you're going to take a test? Great. So three. Okay.
Third one.
Pardon me?
Who is the third one?
Over here.
David.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, David.
Good.
All right. Pete, you're up.
Okay, well, anybody got a hotspot, Wi-Fi hotspot that's working right now?
Yep.
I might actually be able to show you how to do this. If you can set it up, that'd be good, and I can hook into that. Here, set up your hotspot and then take my phone and hook me in there. Okay, Ken asked me to do a quickie presentation on Echolink, and I thought about it a little bit, thinking about you guys, and so I wanted to start out by just a quick show of hands. How many of you guys have not used Echolink on your smartphone? Okay, so there's just a few guys that have not used it.
I haven't.
I used it once 2 years ago.
Okay, because if you guys are very experienced with it, I don't want to bore you, and I'll go on to the Echolink IRLP part of it and talk a little bit about the differences and similarities. So, for those of you who haven't used it, what do you need to know and why do you care? Well, first of all, I made this nice presentation and then I got a little bit confused with Pat. Anyways, I'll put this up on the blog site, but it's a little PowerPoint presentation you'll see, and it's got some screenshots and it tells you what it does and a little bit about how it works and stuff like that. So I've only got one copy here. And then in the back it has this diagram I did, the cheaters diagram. I worked on this about a year ago, and it's a picture of the club backbone, and it shows all of the UHF and VHF, UHF link radio frequencies, PL tones. So with this map, you could misbehave and actually use it to come in on one of the link radio frequencies. Don't do that. You're supposed to just come in on 2 meters, but it's all documented there, and it was mostly accurate about a year ago. So that's in the package too, so secret club information there. Anyways, okay, so Echolink. What the heck is Echolink and why do I care? Echolink is a free app that runs on an iPhone and or an Android, and what Echolink does is it transforms your smartphone into a handy-talkie. And it's free. And it works on iPhones and Androids, but that's it. I did double check on the page and they said they were not doing any future development for like a Windows smartphone or stuff like that. So you just go down to the App Store, download the free app, crank it up. You have to register it, which means you need an FCC call. You do that online. It's very, very simple. It says, what's your call? And am I a registered amateur radio licensed individual? Yes. And you put that in, and then you're eligible to use the application and transform your smartphone into a handy-talkie. So let me get started with the presentation. Yeah.
When I did it, they asked me for a copy, so I had to scan my license into a format that I could email to them.
Okay.
And it took a matter of about 5 minutes. They sent me an email back verifying I was okay to use it.
Okay. How long ago was that? Like 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago?
A year ago.
Year ago? Okay. Has anybody done that recently?
No, but I did, when I did my Echolink at the house, you could either wait and they verify you, or you could speed up the process by giving them credit card info and they charge 10 cents to your credit card or whatever, and then they put it back, and that more or less verifies your address and things.
Right.
And you can verify that way.
So that's kind of a good thing. I mean, technically, if you were naughty, you could use Echolink when you didn't have a license, but you're not supposed to do that. So they try to make sure everything's playing by the rules, and it works. So what I did was, in the presentation here, was to show you probably the simplest thing that we would most likely do. Down here, if I can find my daggone, I gotta do a slideshow. Okay. See slideshow. Okay, there it is. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the part that we just covered here. You go to the App Store in the case of an Apple iPhone. You go look up Echolink. It's free. You download it. You got to jump through a couple of hoops online to get yourself registered to make sure they know that you are a registered amateur radio licensee, and then you crank it up and start using it. So what does that look like? Well, this is, once you get the thing loaded, these are the screens that you would use to do something very typical and something very easy. This is what it looks like on your iPhone when you crank it up the first time. This application will work over Wi-Fi, or it'll work over your LTE network, or however your smartphone gets on the internet. You don't have to be on Wi-Fi. It'll work out in the street. As long as your cell phone sees a cell phone tower and it works as a phone, you can transform your handy-talkie, or your cell phone, into a handy-talkie. So what I did is I loaded it up here. I went out and typed in favorites, and I got to this screen here. You can do search. You have to know that our club's Echolink node, you have to know, is K0RV, that's our club call, -R, and I took that out of the list of all of these other repeaters, put it in there as a favorite, and then I can click on that favorite. I get this screen here, you hit connect, and you can start talking on your phone. You hit the transmit button to talk. Don't forget to hit end, or you don't hear anybody coming back. That's kind of awkward on your phone. But this is press to talk, and then you have to press not to talk, if you will, which is a little amusing. But really, that's all there is to it. Now, our club node here, K0RV, has a computer box that's on the internet, and it also connects to the 8.8 backbone. So from your cell phone here, you're actually hooking up to a computer that's run by the club here, managed by the club, and hooks your cell phone into our repeater backbone so that it goes all over the repeater backbone in Carbondale and Vale and Avon and Rifle and Silt and all that good stuff. So a good application of this is, we have a guy in the club named Jess Craig, good guy, many of you have met him, and Jess lives most of the time out in Southern California. So when Jess wants to join our Sunday night net, he can't do it with a Bofang because he's obviously too far away. We're not on HF, so what Jess does is he cranks up Echolink on his smartphone out there in Southern California. He hooks into this node, he hits connect, transmit, and then from his smartphone, he can join the Sunday night net. And you can do that from anywhere on planet Earth that your cell phone can see a cell phone tower or where you're on Wi-Fi. Okay, so that in a nutshell is what Echolink is and why you want to use it. From anywhere in the world, you can hook into our plug backbone and talk to the other guys hitting connect and transmit when you talk. And don't forget to hit press I'm done talking, or you'll leave the channel open and nobody else can get in to talk back to you. So it's a little awkward when you first try it, but it works pretty well. I know Larry K0CL has used it and said it works pretty well for him. Go ahead.
On the transmit, if you accidentally don't get in, will it time out after so many seconds or something?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think the answer is yes if you don't say anything.
The end button is what's going to disconnect you from.
I'm sorry.
From the
You're right. There's one more screen on this. When you hit transmit, right, there's a different screen. I should have had another one on there. You're right. But it says transmit, and then there's another button there that says stop transmitting. And you have to get used to using that, or it's like using your handy talkie and you're just always pressing to talk. It doesn't work. You've got to press not to talk and then listen. Go back into listen mode. So it's a little awkward.
Are there certain hours when it doesn't work?
Well, if our computer that's on the internet is not up and running, it's not going to work. But I think Echolink is...
Ken
can tell you.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, all 24 hours a day. The only time I take it down is if there's a really bad thunderstorm.
Right.
I have occasionally taken it down for that.
Right.
But normally it's up, and if it's not, let me know. Email me or text me or whatever, get a hold of me so I can go restart it or something. But most of the time it's working beautifully, so.
Right. Okay, so there is another part to Echolink I was just going to mention and not go into too much detail because as normal users we wouldn't normally use it. But you can download some free software onto your computer, your Windows computer, and if you got a little headset and a microphone, you can actually use Echolink from your computer. And Ken has that set up at his location that allows internet connections to hit his box and then go into 8.8. So if you were to have a computer box in Topeka, Kansas, you could take your computer box or your smartphone and hook into what he has and you could still reach the club backbone. Now this is just one of the several thousand Echolink nodes that are all over planet Earth. So from your smartphone here, if you knew what K4ULD, what his node would be back in England, for example, you would just type in that particular code and you could take your smartphone and hook into an Echolink node that was back in London, England, or South Africa, or wherever. So,
Yeah, most of you, or some of you know Steve Carter, K0GUZ, and some of you may remember back a couple of years ago when he was visiting South Africa to visit his daughter and grandbaby. He got on Echolink and we got to talk to him here. And it was really interesting to be able to talk to South Africa. He also did it from Hungary too, was it last year?
I think he told us he had to be up at 3:30 in the morning to do it.
yeah.
That's because there's nobody around.
Yeah, I tried this a couple of, I don't know, a year or so ago with Bob Cutter. And K0IG, or is it KI0G? KI0G. And I did it just for kicks because I could. I had a drink coupon on Southwest Airlines, so rather than spend money on a beer because I had a free beer for the aircraft, I paid $7 and I bought the aircraft Wi-Fi. So from my little phone, I'm up at 35,000 feet. I hooked into the Wi-Fi in the aircraft, and did this, and I was talking to the guys on 2 meters in the club from 38,000 feet over Kansas, and it worked. I recently tried it after that and found out that it looks like the Wi-Fi now on these airplanes is supporting a limited number of ports, like port 80 and just, you know, your iPhone ports, your standard email ports, so it doesn't work anymore. But in the early days, when they let all the traffic fly, I was actually using this as a HT in flight over Kansas at 38,000 feet, and I was talking to Club Echo.
You were talking to me.
The eyewitness! It works!
And the guy in India broke in on us. You never got the guy in India.
No, I didn't hear.
He had no clue what was going on there.
I have a question for Ken. It used to be when Andre was running it,
Yeah.
like when I brought my laptop up on Echolink, I had to get his permission to connect. You don't have to do that anymore, Ken? So what kind of verification do we have to do for a laptop?
Once you have it set up, once you get your call sign, you can actually download. You're saying if you want to run on
I
that.
just downloaded Echolink,
Yeah,
and then I had to send an email to Andre to say,
and my,
when K3 wants, I want to get on there, and I was on.
yeah.
This is
Yeah, there's a
years ago.
setting, there's a setting in the software that you can restrict users based on.
We haven't done that.
You haven't done it?
We opened it
So
up.
if I wanted to get a friend or a relative or something started, all I have to do is just go for it. All right.
Yeah, make sure they've got FCC license, because, you know, you want to play by the rules.
And then this, the K0RV-R, that's the only thing you gotta search for.
And that's our club.
There's a search.
That's one node out of 5,000 nodes that are all over the planet. So if you want to talk to somebody in Germany on German, use this technique. Under the list here, there's a list of all nodes, and you get them alphabetically, and it goes by country and state and everything. And there's a gazillion nodes out there.
Excuse me, I have a problem when I try to use this with my router, because the router has those ports specially set up.
I don't think that's true in the case of the iPhone, because you're making an outbound connection. If you're using your PC, yes, sir,
Yeah.
you're correct. On a PC, it's a little different. You have to do the port forwards. So here's what I'm not going to talk a whole lot about. There's a way to put Echolink on a PC, and then have that PC talk to another PC with Echolink. Now, if you were to do that, what do you have? What you have is Skype without video. And so there aren't very many guys that use that. Mostly they just want to use it with their cell phones, their smartphones, so they can communicate using your smartphone. I don't see a whole lot of utility in going Echolink PC to Echolink PC unless you really like wearing a little headset and just using audio when you could use Skype where you would have audio and video. So I didn't want to go into that part of it very much. The club does have one node like that you manage. Thank you for doing that. And that brings us all into the club.
You're going to talk about the reflector.
The demo reflector? Yeah, okay. All right, so anyway, so is everybody comfortable? The app is free on an iPhone or an Android, and the club call you search for to hook into the backbone is K0RV, that's us. And it's just like you're out and about in town, you know, where you can hit 88 with one of these and talk, and it works great.
I don't know how my audio sounds, but I'm just using my HP laptop without it.
It works.
Just bare bones.
Yeah, you sound great.
There's a playback function too. In their little test menu on your laptop, when you're setting up your audio, you can speak into it, and it records you for a second, then it plays it back, and that'll show you your audio quality, your signal strength, and that kind of stuff. So kind of lets you adjust your microphone on your tablet so that you have good audio quality. You're not overdriving it or having a real weak signal.
So, you know, again, I think most guys in real life will use it with their smartphones. So, for example, I might be down at HRO in Denver, and I forgot what Phil here told me to buy. He needed a new Yagi antenna. So, and I know Phil always has his radio on, so I could crank up Echolink on this while I was at HRO in Denver, hit the club backbone and say, Phil, what kind of Yagi did you want? I'm down here at HRO and I forgot what you told me to get. And he could respond on his radio and I'd hear it. All you guys would hear it too on the 88 backbone, just like we normally hear each other. And that would be one reason why you would use it, as opposed to dragging your whole daggone laptop down to HRO and trying to hook it up there. So most of the time, people use it with smartphones.
But there's, on Echolink, there's a sort of list of all the repeaters around the world.
Yes, yes.
And if you wanted to go and talk to one of them, say I wanted to talk to my old local repeater in England, could I put the call sign of a repeater instead of RV?
Yes, well, you'd have to know what it was. If you type in K0RV in our case without the R, it'll still find it and say that's the R. And
No,
that's the ski company.
but I mean, I'm in the list of all the repeaters.
Right.
They show all the call signs of the repeaters.
Right, but it depends on how the guys set it up. If they set it up using like our club call, the answer would be yes. But
I'm with you.
you kind of have to know.
Okay,
So you'd look it by geolocation and then see if
Yeah.
you could identify the repeater that you wanted and just call your buddy.
yeah, yeah.
You can also search by city. You can just, where it says search, you can type in the city,
Yes.
and then you can find a repeater in that city.
Well, I've seen all my old repeaters where I used to live, and I did try them a couple of times and they worked. But suddenly my router decided not to let me do it anymore.
So anyway, so is everybody comfortable with like what Echolink is and how you could take advantage of it if you have a smartphone? Everybody comfortable?
Yeah.
Question. If you're on your smartphone and you don't have Wi-Fi, how big a data hog for your cellular data plan is Echolink?
That's a good question. I don't know what the answer is
It's
to
not
that.
bad.
Eric, you want to comment on that?
Not bad?
It's not bad at all. You shouldn't use.
So if you're doing like
a couple
Sunday Night
hundred
Net and you're on there for a half an hour or something like that, you're not consuming a lot of your cellular data?
meg. No, it's no more than like voice. I mean, it's
Okay,
a
good.
Yeah,
couple
So,
kilobits.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about it for half an hour. Wouldn't leave it on all night necessarily, but yeah.
It'd be
We
a good
have
test
an
to-
issue, Ken is susceptible to it. When you're doing the net, on Echolink, it sounds like the squelch is too high. So Ken sounds like he's cutting out. Nobody else off Echolink seems to have a problem. So there's somewhere in the system, something's not getting me. It's the 88 machine on the Echolink, and we hear it, and it sounds like it's cutting out.
Well, hang on. Let's ask Ken. When Echolink is running at your QTH, and you want to talk to the guys on the backbone, how do you come in? Do you come in with an HT, or do you use Echolink on your cell phone? How do you come in? The backbone?
When I'm talking to them, I just go through 88. I switched it over to an Anvil.
Yeah, see, he got around the problem.
Right.
But there is an issue on 88 that we need to recognize. There's something that's out of adjustment.
I don't know. I haven't noticed it myself personally. Has
You
anybody
won't,
else?
you won't unless you're on Echolink.
Oh, okay.
Sounds
All right,
more like a bandwidth issue.
Maybe.
So it's,
Sounds like packet loss?
What? Go like that? Because that's what
not
packet
quite
loss
like
sounds
that,
like.
no, it chops the first thing off that he says and breaks up. There's a long stretch where it works and then it chops, and then a longer stretch. It's not a.
Well, that's a good point. And Pat brings this up too on the net when he runs it, is when you key it up, to hit transmit here, and you have to wait about 2 seconds for everything to come up so that you can
Yeah.
talk.
But
Don't
that's-
hit transmit right away and start talking.
That's
It'll
not what
clip
this is, though.
the first 2 or 3 words you speak.
Maybe it clips a little bit at first, but then shortly thereafter, it'll clip again, and then it clip again, and then clip again. So, I'm just saying there's something there, and I understand why it's not a big issue, because nobody's hearing it here in the valley.
Well, I've heard him drop out, and I'm not on Echolink when I'm talking on net. I've heard him drop out before, and that's why he decided to go to Anvil points, because he didn't
Well, then maybe
understand.
that's a squelch issue on 88.
There may be some, I know the deviation was kind of messed up. Chuck was still adjusting that right up until the end of the year. So, or right up until he left. So that might be related to that. Just getting all the balancing right with the new repeater in place and everything. So that might be what you're hearing. I know it, I've heard that too, but I'm not really sure what would cause that. It's not like packet loss, it is,
It's all you can do.
it's
to
like maybe
understand
over
what's going on.
deviating on one of the links, and because of that, it's
So if somebody
cutting
could
out.
work with me or help me with that, I'd be open to.
Could it just be at his end, a bandwidth issue?
It seems like everybody in
How's your,
Echolink
how's
is
your
having a
band,
problem.
how's your bandwidth? Well, I never experienced it, that's why I was wondering.
Well, you're not on Echolink, but Tony knows about it,
No, but
I
I-
know about it, Jess knows about it.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
So,
I was wondering if it's a bandwidth problem for some reason at your end.
Yeah. One of the other interesting things about it is if on a Sunday night net, let's say 4 or 5 of you guys, and you're coming in with Echolink, and you all come into the K0RV, you will hear each other on Echolink, Echolink to Echolink, and the sound quality, when it works right, is phenomenally good. It doesn't sound at all like handy talk you're in. It's totally digital, it's crystal clear. It's really amazing because you just go into the Echolink node and come back out again. It's digital in, digital out, and back to your phone. So you're all part of the party line there. But if you're Echolink to Echolink, it sounds better than if you're Echolink to an HT, for example. Okay. So, anyways, that's Echolink, and that's why you want to use it. If you're new in the club and you haven't bought your first radio yet, but you have an FCC call, your first 2-meter radio experience could be done via Echolink, because you can download the free app to your smartphone, key it up once you get your license, and you're in the club and you can say hi to folks. And you don't have to buy a radio, technically. That's kind of the beauty of it, is that it transforms your smartphone into an HT that works from anywhere you have a telephone signal or Wi-Fi, anywhere on the planet. So it's just another tool for your ham radio toolbox, like amplifiers and Yagis and multiple radios and that kind of stuff. So I'm advertising it as a tool that I would encourage you to add to your inventory of ham tools if you have a smartphone. Because it works pretty well and it works from anywhere. So that, in a super simplified nutshell, is Echolink. Unfortunately, I don't have enough bandwidth on AT&T. I've just got 1 star here, so I can't actually crank it up on my phone. That's what I was asking if we had a hotspot here. But if somebody else does...
I've got it.
Do you have it?
Well, I just put it in while we were...
Okay. It might bark at you about registration.
No, I already signed in and was...
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead and key it up.
Well, I hit the little red X, and now I don't know how to get back to it. Here, you want to... You're the wizard.
Okay, have you got it? Okay. Oh, you got it on your Android. Okay, well, crank it up here. And to just key it up and give your call. I've got my handy talkie into 88, so we should be able to hear you.
Your radio system.
Should work, I hope.
Kilo Mike 5 Bravo. Echolink would like to access the microphone. Sure. Kilo Mike 5 Bravo. Do you have a copy? No. I'm seeing my signal meter move, but I don't know.
He's getting ahead with it.
Oh, okay.
Got it?
All right. So Kilo Mike 5 Bravo clear.
They're here. There you go.
You heard him, didn't you?
You got a better radio than my Bofang.
That's not hard.
Well, go ahead, crank up again, Bob.
Kilo Mike 5 Bravo doing an Echolink test from an iPhone inside the bank after the meeting.
Okay, and then you go back, Bob, and he should be able to hear you.
Oh, yeah.
K9 Mike, Whiskey Mike, do you copy?
No.
You're not in the
Kilo 9 Mike, Whiskey Mike.
Oh, did I? No, I should still be. Oh, okay.
That's out.
Country amateur radio system.
K0AMA.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Give him a call.
All right, let's see. Well, I'm receiving somebody right now.
You probably...
No. Somebody is transmitting. All right, now I have the option.
Well, actually, in real life, it works a little better than that. It's
K0
just-
AMA KM5 good morning out.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Echo.
So if you guys are interested in that, and you want to get a little bit more comfortable with it before you necessarily try it the first time, I would encourage you for this net on Sunday night is go ahead and load it up on your iPhone or smartphone, put it into K0RV Sunday night on your smartphone, and just listen to it, and you'll hear the net over your phone, and you'll get a feel for how it works. And it's all free. It doesn't cost anything.
What time is that Sunday?
The Sunday night net is 8:30. 8:30 Colorado time. So yeah, definitely check it out. So
Now I'm going to have a
So
conversation.
Pete, you're gonna put this
We're actually just
slideshow
intervening,
presentation
having a
up
test
on
at the moment, so I'm going to
the
attempt to
website,
Yep.
k0rv.org.
Yep.
Yeah, we're
So
actually
you'll be able to refresh your memory
Right.
Mike 5 probably.
by going back through it.
okay, so okay, I just wanted to make a couple comments here. I know some of you guys well, everybody's heard about IRLP, but it might not necessarily be clear about what's the difference between IRLP and Echolink, and why would I want to use one versus the other? Okay, so how many guys here have not used IRLP? Okay, most guys, okay. Okay, good, so then this is a valuable part of the presentation, maybe. You can see how this works. Okay, what? Okay, here's we'll go into this. So I had to clean this up a little bit. Frank recognizes this. Okay, IRLP is a way to use your handy-talkie, not a smartphone, IRLP with a handy-talkie, and use the internet at the same time to make long-distance communication. So I built this little diagram here. This is sanitized. I got rid of all the passwords and stuff like that so you can't hack into the node. But this is a picture of how IRLP works on Vail Mountain. And what this does is when you're up on Vail Mountain and you've got your little handy-talkie and you're skiing, you can use your handy-talkie and hit the 6-1 repeater on Vail Mountain and you get back into the club backbone. So how is that connection made? Well, 6-1 picks up your communication from your handy-talkie and it sends it down to a radio that's on the valley floor in Vail, actually at Phil's sister's house. And that radio that receives the signal that when I'm yakking away on Vail Mountain skiing, the radio receives it, takes the audio, shoves it into a little Linux computer that's hooked up wirelessly to the internet, and it sends the signal out to the internet. Now, our club, K0RB, also has a separate IRLP node, a node separate and physically distinct from the Echolink node, that takes IRLP traffic and sends it up to the 8.8 transmitter so everybody can hear. So there's actually one more little step in between here on the internet. There is an IRLP box that exists down in Denver, and it's called the Denver Reflector. And the reflector is used to take different IRLP locations and hook it into the 8.8 backbone. So Frank and I, 0AFO, he has an IRLP node in Vail. I have an IRLP node in Avon. And 6-1 has an IRLP node. All these different nodes look like this. They all hook into this thing called the Denver Reflector. And then the club's node, K0RB IRLP node, also hooks into the Denver Reflector. And all these communications, thanks to the magic of the Denver Reflector and the separate box here in Glenwood Springs, transmits the signal from here back out to the whole club backbone. I don't know if that's clear as mud or not, but anyways, it works.
So in order to get from 6.1 to 8.8, you're going through the internet.
Internet to Denver, pick up the Denver Reflector, and then send it all the way back to
Same thing
Glenwood.
as if you're in your auto and you're running 6.1, right?
Right,
So if the internet is down, you're not getting the 8.8.
correct.
Okay.
It's all internet dependent. Right. So this kind of a setup works well if you want to use a handy-talkie. It's maybe not quite as versatile as Echolink is, but there's a practical application that I have that I use that works well for me in Avon. I have a little tiny baby Bofang at my location in Avon, and I switch it over to low power, and I transmit on low power because my antenna's on the deck, and the antenna picks up the signal, shoves it through the internet, and I can talk to all of you guys on 8.8. And I like that because the audio quality is very good, and my battery lasts forever because I can tell the HT to use low power because I'm only transmitting 30 feet to the antenna. So that kind of a setup works well for me. If I didn't have that, I would need a bigger antenna, 5 watts to reach all the way back from Avon to Vail, and then I'd have to deal a little bit of scratchy audio and whatnot. So in that particular situation, IRLP works well for what I do. And Frank has a similar setup in East Vail. He uses the same kind of thing too. He can walk around the neighborhood or his house and use his handy-talkie. And you know, in the summertime, I'll take hikes around the neighborhood and I'll walk around with my handy-talkie, and I just use my IRLP node, and I can talk to any of you guys on the club backbone.
K0BK. that's his only clear way of getting out. Like if you hear him a lot, he's real scratchy and has not the greatest audio. But I guess he's down in a hole and doesn't have a real good spot. So he'll reach out because IRLP has a delay.
Yes.
And so he'll reach out with his just regular setup and be real scratchy and get in on a conversation, and then switch over to IRLP, and suddenly the magic audio is very clear and good. So if you've got a bad location where you don't have good audio, it's also a good way to do it.
Right, so Echolink is for smartphones, and IRLP is for guys that really like using their handy-talkies. IRLP has thousands of IRLP nodes all over the country, so using IRLP, I just press 4 tones here, and I can take my IRLP node in Avon, and I can hook it to your friends in London, England, and I can talk to them using my handy-talkie over the internet. And everybody's using a radio, but what's in between us is the internet. So an IRLP node can directly connect to another IRLP node, and you guys can talk. Anybody out on the internet in Australia, they can take their IRLP node that they have in Australia, dial up the Denver reflector, 9374, that's all it takes, 4 tones on your little handy-talkie, and all of a sudden your node in Sydney, Australia is hooked into the Denver reflector, and you can talk to anybody in the club backbone. And every now and then you'll hear a guy, if you listen to the backbone a lot, you'll hear somebody from far away hook in, and he'll just throw his call out and say, mobile, is anybody out there? Sometimes they'll come in on Echolink, sometimes they come in on IRLP, but you'll hear them. You know, it just depends on what you like to use.
Is there something about requesting permission to use a node before you do it, or is that not?
You know, good. Thank you for bringing that up. I had to shut down Vail because of that. Yeah, the protocol. Let me give you a specific example of what happened. We had Ham, who we think we know who it was. But anyways, he was originally coming into the Vail node here that was managing 6.1, and he knew enough about IRLP that he could get a hold of the node, dial up some tones, in this case 7.3 would disconnect this from the club backbone, and then from there he could issue 4 tones, and he could hook into an IRLP node that was in, I think it was in Alabama somewhere, Mobile, Alabama. And he did that without asking for permission, because technically he could do it. He had the technical knowledge to do it. It wasn't really hacking. He just sort of borrowed the node without telling anybody. And then when he was done with it, he didn't hook it back up to 6.1. So anybody using 6.1 in the Spring Vale Mountain, we couldn't get back into the club backbone, because we didn't necessarily know that he had borrowed the node and hooked it to Alabama.
There's one little point that was the fatal flaw of this guy's usage. Most IRLP nodes with a lack of traffic will go back to being idle. In other words, they have a timeout feature on them. In order for this to work for linking, we disabled that timeout. And he had no way of knowing. Had he asked, we could have told him. But he had no way of knowing that this thing wasn't going to reset when he was done. So he effectively disconnected 6.1 from our backbone.
Right, so the way we protected ourselves going forward is there's a way in IRLP you can put a little prefix code on it, your secret little code. So instead of just 4 digits, you have to precede it with something. And so that's the way Vail works now. So if you don't know what that code is, you can't grab the node and change things. So we kind of locked it down that way. But to answer your question, it's there's a list of IRLP nodes out on the internet, status.irlp.net, and you can see who runs the node, and I'm out there, and Frank's out there, and you just click on it and send the guy a note and say, could I please have permission to borrow your node Sunday at 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and if yes, where would you like me to hook it up back up to when I'm done? And that would be a polite way, certainly, of asking folks if you could borrow the node, make a connection, and then when you're done, put it back to where it was. Frank's done that a couple times, I think. He's traveling in his RV. He was out in Nebraska somewhere. He wanted to come back into the club backbone to do the net on Sunday night, and he wanted to use his handy-talkie. He didn't want to use Echolink, so he found out there was an IRLP node somewhere out there in Lincoln, Nebraska, or wherever it was, and he just dialed it up on his handy-talkie. He took that IRLP node, hooked it into the club's Denver reflector, and he was able to talk using his handy-talkie, and he could reach anybody in the club. He wasn't using Echolink. He wanted to use a little handy-talkie, and IRLP gave him that functionality, as long as when he was sitting in his RV in Lincoln, Nebraska, he could, from his RV, reach that RLP node that was at the other end of the town in Lincoln, Nebraska. So these tools are similar. They do functionally the same thing, but they're a little bit different. I think overall that Echolink, as a practical matter, is probably the simplest and easiest and most versatile of the two things.
Tell them about the timer too, because it's the last 3 minutes. You get timed out after 3 minutes. You can only talk 3 minutes max.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Fred demonstrates that all the time.
Or they're really, the way it's set up now, and I don't know how yours works, your node works,
Yeah, mine doesn't have a timeout.
but Ted set that up so that ours resets at 3 minutes, so we don't get nasty letters and threats of not allowing IRLP.
Right.
We did get some initially, and we overran that before we set that time.
Yeah, so don't talk more than 3 minutes. Most
Yeah.
guys don't. You're doing normal conversation.
You will drop the IRLP node.
Yeah. Yeah,
So, and if you're prone to that, you can set your handheld to give you a warning. You can set a timeout on your handheld, and it'll start beeping at you when you're getting close. We've done that with Fred, and he's much better.
It's a cuckoo.
So, Pete, definitely get all of this up on the website, and for those of you that are new to the club or the area or whatever, we have several other how-to-do-its on the website, www.k0rv.org. Please check it out, and Pete, video.
Yeah, just a couple more things I just want to add. Down here in the corner is, for our node here, for the club, this is work in progress, but Frank and I built our nodes, and when we did, we built a browser interface on the RLP node that lets us control, assuming you have the right passwords and access, it lets you control an RLP node from just a regular old web browser. And you can turn the node on or off or reboot it or disconnect it, reconnect it, and we're trying to get to the point where we can do that at the club here, because right now we don't have that browser interface. So every now and then the node goes down and we have to get on the phone or email someone, please look us back up because we're stuck in Eagle County and we can't talk to you. So with this browser-based interface, which Frank and I have on our nodes, we can do that ourselves from anywhere on the internet, provided that you have the right username and passwords. It's not open. You don't want people in there necessarily messing with your stuff. Okay, so we're working on that. It's not hard to do. It just takes a little bit of time, and you got to go boots on the ground with the node. Okay, and then let's talk. Okay, here's the. This is a project I worked on at the club about a year ago, somewhat to the chagrin of Chuck and Zero NHJ. I was making an attempt at trying to document as much as possible how the club backbone worked, including the IRLP node stuff and Echolink. And so there's a lot of information on here that shows you how to misbehave. And by that I mean, this information shows you how you should come in on the link radio frequencies at UHF rather than come in on VHF, which is what we're supposed to do, is always use the 2-meter stuff. But it's all listed here, and Jim Bailey's on here. Listing the RLP node that's at Jim's place in Silt, which is how we get the club backbone 8.8 into the internet, into the rest of the RLP node. So all this stuff is listed here, and it's part of the presentation I'll put online. Here's the Echolink node, and I think this information is still correct. Do you remember that 908, 980?
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah, that's just another identifier for that particular node, K0RV. But it was all part of this document that I worked on about a year ago, where I was trying to get my hands on how does our entire club network work, and what frequencies, PL tones are there, and what kind of link radio frequencies are in use. So it was mostly accurate about a year ago. Some things may have changed since then, so I can't say it's completely accurate, but
pretty close.
It's pretty much.
Yeah. So
Pete, I think we're going to need to move along now.
Yeah,
We've
right.
got a lot of other agenda things, but if you can get this and your diagram up on the website, I think it'd be highly beneficial. So let's hear it for Pete. A lot of work. Russell, you're up with Aries.
All right, just very briefly, I spoke to you all, it was last May, about Aries. This is just a little follow-up. We have formed a nonprofit corporation and we've been approved by the IRS for a 501c3. We have people now in this area, you know, the club area, and then we also have people north of here in Steamboat and in Craig, as well as in Summit County. So we are expanding. This year's been an organizational type of year. We've had our first meeting of the board of directors for the nonprofit corporation, and we've done one statewide test. It was a simulated EMP test, and we're doing another test, yeah, it's supposed to be a test, a hospital test later this month. So I'll send more information out to you. I know there has been a lot of stuff going on that all of you have been involved with. This year's been, say, mostly an organizational meeting. You may get organizational year. You may get emails from Ken Brown. He is the emergency coordinator for this area, and so you may, if you get an email from Ken Brown, that's what it's referring to. He's been doing some work trying to get a list of people that are involved here. So my responsibilities are on the district as a whole, or the region as a whole, the whole northwestern part of the state. And then Ken is a little bit more focused in Eagle County, Garfield County, and Pictou County. Thanks.
So Russell, if you want to get to both Pete and I when there'll be events or meetings or whatever, we can spread it.
Get them on the
faithful.
We did have one training the end of August. That was for, well, that was for the region, but we had several members of our group that were at that training.
What's the name of the group, Barry? Sign up.
If you want to sign up, get, probably the easiest way right now is just give me a call. Send me an email. I'll get you the information, and then I can take that email and give it to Ken or whoever is in your specific county. And that's probably the fastest way right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I get my Aries membership card that says I'm part of this nonprofit and I'm an Aries guy or whatever, and then I go out and buy myself a new HF rig, can I deduct that off my taxes?
Possibly.
Talk to your accountant.
Yeah, you want to talk to your accountant. There's several ways you can do this. I don't want to give any tax advice. My accountant and I have worked things out so that there's several ways people do this. One way is you work right through your accountant and work with them so that your equipment is being used for a nonprofit purpose. My understanding is that creates some avenues that you can deduct a portion of that, depending on how much you use it. We've mentioned in the board of directors that anybody in Aries, we want them to participate as much as possible just in the hobby of ham radio, because you don't want to be using your HF rig for the first time when you're on an incident and where you're having to use it. We want people that are using it a lot, that are very familiar with their rigs and not going through a learning curve on an incident. So we put that actually into our bylaws, that's part of your requirements, is to be actively involved in the hobby. The other way to do it, and some of the Aries groups in Denver have done this, and we can do this as well since we are a 501c3, is that you make a donation to our nonprofit corporation to buy that HT or buy your HF rig, whatever it is that you want. We buy it and then we assign it to you for use in Aries. And that way your money is actually coming to the 501c3. 501c3 is actually buying it. There are some technical risks there that you cannot make a donation to a nonprofit corporation with a contingency saying you are only making this donation if you use it for this purpose. Technically, there's a risk there, but we would probably follow through and buy the rig that you want to buy. So there's several ways, but I would suggest you talk to your accountant. But yeah, there are some ways to do that, to have some tax benefits. I've always seemed to have been able to, I was on the National Ski Patrol for a long time, and my accountant worked out how I could deduct a portion of my skis and so forth for that, for a 501c3. So there's ways to do it, but I don't want to give you any tax advice.
You probably could justify an emergency generator pretty easily if you bought it under that umbrella.
Depends how creative you and your accountant are. They say how you want to.
I need to store my generator so I can get an
camper, and all of a sudden Bob's real active in Aries.
Phil and I know some guys that have gone to jail for doing that for contests.
I say, I want to be careful since this is recorded, I don't want to get any tax advice. Any other questions? Say, and I'll email you some things that are happening so that you can get more involved. Anything else? All right, I think you're up for food report.
One other question.
Yeah.
Could you explain ARES?
Yeah, Amateur Radio Emergency Services.
Familiar with that?
Yeah, what it is, Amateur Radio Emergency Services. And so if, for any reason, not just huge disasters, we seem to train for the huge disasters, but if for any reason communications were to go down, usually ham radio still works. And so then we step in and provide emergency communications. And it's been used in Colorado, the floods in Fort Collins a couple years ago, it was used. Katrina was a big one. Ham radio was the only thing that worked during Katrina. Our training seems to be for these huge things like an EMP that would take out the entire grid. How are we going to function? And so we have some people that stay in their ham radio room and are relaying messages. We have other people. I have now a portable HF rig with a solar-powered battery supply that I can go now anywhere with or without electricity and hook that up. And I can hook my HF rig now into my handheld, my HT. And I can relay through my HT, connect to my HF rig, and then send out on 40 meters. So, but that's the idea, is that when everything fails, we still are able to get out.
So it's used by local police, sheriff's department?
We have
emergency hospitals?
Yeah, we have right now.
This is a network designed for their...
It's a national network, yeah. We have memorandums of understandings, agreements with the counties in the area. So right now we have a memorandum of understanding with Eagle County that we're their designated, what used to be civil defense communications. We fill that role. We also have memorandums of understanding in Routt County and in Moffat County. And we're very close, probably in the next 45, 60 days, we'll have agreements with Pickens County and Garfield County. And so we work through the county. After 9/11, the organization network changed a little bit, and now there's a designated person within the county government that's in charge of emergency operations just overall, and that's who we work through. So we work through that person, and then we may work through, depending on what the incident is.
So you mentioned Ken Brown's name. Is he one of those coordinators?
He is the emergency coordinator. He's a ham, and he's an emergency coordinator for Eagle, and he's a deputy. Barry Smith is the coordinator for the county in Eagle County. He's the one that we work through. Okay. Yeah, he's an employee. Barry Smith is an employee of Eagle County, and he's the what's his title? Emergency Services Director, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So,
yeah. I was thinking for a meeting presentation. I remember back in '94 we were involved in that Storm King fire. Some of our equipment was used and cell phones were reprogrammed. We need to have a discussion on how we responded then, and then with the new organization and what you're doing, Russell, how it would go today. And that'd be a good example of a local problem.
Yeah.
I can do another presentation. If you go about due, because it's been almost a year since I did the last one, because we have made, this year's been a huge year for organization. That's where we've been focused, is getting our leadership organized, and so I can do that maybe in a couple of months. It'd be a good time.
Please do it in June or later.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to miss that mud season.
Okay. Okay, we'll do it in early summer after field day.
Okay.
So, it's a fun. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm serving as an assistant EC under Ken, because Ken's over in Avon, and we're unique here in that we have 3 counties in the Roaring Fork Valley. So I kind of volunteered to help Ken when things come up if it's in the Roaring Fork Valley. But we need more assistant ECs to cover the other 2 counties in the Roaring Fork Valley, and especially up toward Redstone, up the Frying Pan Valley, And then if something comes up that's in Garfield County, we need coverage there too.
Yeah,
So if anybody's interested, just jump in and we can help Ken out. And it's working pretty well. We have an exercise coming up next Thursday on communicable disease outbreak. And that's going to be at several hospitals throughout the area. And I know we're doing one up at the North 40 station at Aspen that I'm going to go to. And there's another one in Garfield and Eagle County hospitals also. But I think that's more of an informative thing. It's not an actual operating situation, but they're planning an emergency drill within the next year on that same topic. So there'll be some opportunity to get antennas out, get radios set up, and hopefully we'll have all the requirements we might need to work with the local law enforcement agencies that we may have to sign something or get some kind of waiver. So we're working on that, and that'll come up.
And if you want to contact Bob, you know, if you're, instead of me, that's fine too. But we do need, Bob's right, we do need additional leadership in really Eagle County, and you're in Pitkin, correct?
I'm in Pitkin,
so we need Eagle and Garfield.
Garfield, yeah.
We need two leaders, somebody in Eagle and in Garfield. Even though Ken is in Eagle, the way that the command structure works out is that even though Ken, who's the EC is in Eagle, you still need an assistant underneath him that is more focused in Eagle. So if anybody is interested, say especially Eagle and Garfield County, we have slots there for leadership positions. Even if you're new, I mean, and you only need a technician license. You don't have to have a general. You don't have to have an extra. We'll bring you up to speed, even if you've never done anything like this before. We'll bring you up to speed and help you to get started. We've had some emails going around of having antenna parties at some of the people's houses to get them set up for 40 meters if they have their general license, or just like Pete's talking about the IRLP nodes, getting that set up so that we can use that kind of like a repeater, really. So if anybody's interested, give Bob or I a call and or send us an email, and we'll get you started. Jesse?
Just since we're talking about communications and things, I just wanted to talk to everybody for a second. February 14th, Valentine's Day, is the Owl Creek Chase. Anybody who's interested in doing areas and things like that, it's a good chance to just practice being out in the field talking to each other. We need about 9 people, and I think we have 4 right now. So we're looking for 5 or so more people to volunteer to help with communications for that.
And that's the morning, right?
It's in the morning. It starts, I'm not sure what time they change it to there, but it can be pretty early. It's up in Aspen, and it's normally over by noon or 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so you'll be back in plenty of time to take your spouse out to dinner for Valentine's Day.
I would like to, Bob, make a suggestion. Since it's just part of the morning, I would like to recommend that we leave the link up in the backbone that morning, so other folks who are interested in this can hear it through the whole backbone. You hear the chatter going on in terms of how they support Owl Creek, so you'll learn a little bit more about what it sounds like, what the job involves, and it's only for part of the morning. I think it would be of value, not to disconnect them from the node.
We can do that, and do the 5-2, bunch of it goes on to 5-2, but people can hear 5-2 quite a bit.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Was there some online courses through FEMA that?
Yes. Yeah, if you get involved, there are a number of online courses that you need to take. They're all free through FEMA. This is, even though we're amateurs, this is tied in very closely with Homeland Defense, or so it's yeah. So all of that we're tied in fairly closely, and actually as a state.
The league has a series of 3 courses on this.
Well, there's Ken right there. This is Ken Brown. He's the EC in for this region, this district. But yeah, you can. They're online and they're free. There's, let's see, 1, 2, I think 4 courses that you need to do. Each one takes about 2 hours to go through. Yeah.
Go to the ICS, like
Yeah.
ICS 100.
Yeah. I think you need 100 to 200, 7 and 8. They want us to get 300, 400, but those are a little bit more difficult to get because they're not online. You have to go through an actual class, and those are more difficult because those classes tend to be for professional firefighters and police officers. They're all during the week, and they're all during the day, so it's difficult. Barry and Eagle has said that he would do a class for us if we wanted to, if we could get enough people, and would do them on the weekends, but we haven't organized that yet. Ken, do you have it?
No, you covered everything.
What's your email address?
Long.
If you just want to give an email to me, I can forward it to Ken.
Should be in the club, Ross.
It is, it's in the cover.
Yeah. I can put a link on the blog site for more areas of information, and then
that'd be great.
It gets to you and Ken, and
That'd be great. So just go onto the website and it'll get to us. Any other questions?
I brought some stuff with me today that'd be
A
useful for.
little later on that. We're short on time, but we do have
I mean, I want to show the stuff afterwards, like, how to hook up the battery for emergency power that will switch over and stuff.
Okay.
I can show that afterwards.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We're going to make Bob's presentation on satellite communication. That's going to roll forward, I have a feeling, perhaps to next month, because we have to clear out of here by 12:30 are the rules. One of the things that's going to be hopefully a regular feature of club meetings is a book report. And that's something I'm going to do today, and I'll look for volunteers for future meetings on that. But a book report on something relating to ham radio. While I'm doing that, if everybody would take a chunk of paper or whatever you've got and tear a little, like a 2x2 piece of paper and put your name and or your call sign on it. We are at the end of today going to have a drawing. We have a couple of ham radio books and a handy copy that are door prizes. Don't get too excited. The handy talkie is about 3 generations out of date, but it doesn't work.
Oh, so it's a bow bag then?
Yeah, or for $50 you can have a Chinese wonder.
I'll take that.
So anyway, make a little name sheet, and then we're passing the 10-gallon cowboy hat around. Make sure we get everybody's name and or call sign in.
Smaller piece of paper.
Book report wise, hey, if I can have your attention, CQ or QSD or whatever. Today's book report really started with a book that I just finished reading, and I'm not really reporting on it, but on my Kindle, I just finished a book, Lights Out by Ted Koppel. And if that name is familiar to you, Ted Koppel is a commentator with CBS News, written a number of books, but I think as hams and people that have a vested interest in electricity, you would really enjoy Lights Out. His thesis, and it's all based on interviews with people in the national security realm and people in the commercial power. And his thing is that the enemies of our country are continually working on ways through the internet to attack our power grid. And what I didn't realize is that there are only 3 or 4 major co-ops for the whole country that provide power. And they, for example, here in Glenwood Springs doesn't generate its own power. Holy Cross Electric doesn't generate its own power. They're all buying and getting their power elsewhere. And if any one of those parts is compromised, you could lose the whole East Coast or the whole West Coast or the Rocky Mountain region. It could go black. And I think you would enjoy Ted Koppel's book. It's about $7 on Amazon for the Kindle version. But really that took me back to a book that I recommended to you maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Emergency Power for Radio Communication by Mike Bryce. And Mike is an extra class ham, WB8 VGE, and his whole book is about what if you lose power and what can you do. And so he starts out saying, where were you August 14th, 2003? Well, if you were living in the northeastern part of the country, you found yourself sitting in the dark along with 50 million other people. And what happened is some tree branches fell into power lines and it started avalanching or snowballing. And 50 million people had no power for 2 weeks. And how do you handle that? Without power at my house, I don't have drinking water. I can't cook because I have an electric stove. I can't flush the toilet if I take a bucket of water and put it in because I'm on a septic tank. But if I live in town, I can't even flush the toilet. He makes a very insightful book. It's available through the league for $20, and I highly recommend it to you. It's very thought-provoking. If there's no power, how can you fill your gas tank? Because most gas stations don't have a generator. How can you check out at Safeway? Have you ever been at the supermarket when there's a brief power outage? They shut down. You're screwed. You know? They can't even operate their cash register on cash, let alone on a credit card.
Or scan.
Yeah, or scan. Yeah, nobody knows. There are no price tags anymore. It's pretty crazy.
What's the name of the book again?
And I've got several more copies of the front of the book floating around. I'll pass these down the line. It's Emergency Power for Radio Communication. And I will admit to a prejudice of being somewhat hooked on preparedness. I'm a prepper. And a prepper is a person that says, okay, shouldn't I have a certain amount of food stored underneath the stairs, and a way to get to water and so forth, and a way to get to sanitation. But think about it. That's the book report for today. And Sue's already done Owl Creek Chase. Shall we move to, I don't know how long your presentation is. If you want to try to squeeze part of it in, or what do you think?
No.
You want to do it next month?
Yeah.
February? Let's move to show and tell then. We've got a number of items for sale. Why don't we take people, first of all, that have got something for sale and tell us what you've got and what a bargain it really truly is.
I've just got some stuff over there, but I don't remember what I put over there.
Well, go over there and announce it.
It's definitely pretty good deals. There's a Chromebook computer that's had about an hour's worth of use on it, a DSP hearing speaker with, those are pretty good. I think it's a 40-meter 2RP CW rig, but I bought it, stuck it in the bag, it's been in the shed ever since then. I'm not even sure if it's 40 meters now. That's how long it's been sitting.
It was.
I think it was. And I think that's it. I think there's a Bofang cable that you can program your Bofangs with. That is the real Bofang cable. It is not genuine screw wrap. And whatever button you cut.
I've got a power supply over there if anybody's interested in a good 25, 30 amp power supply, completely adjustable, and a couple of power availabilities on it, 10 amp, 6 amp, or full bore.
show and tell?
I'd like to mention that, I've moving out of Delaware, and I have this lovely boat anchor. It's actually a great HF receiver that the Navy used. It's an ANSRR-13A. It uses those little miniature military tubes and all that. So it's great if you have an EMP, it'll function. And I'm thinking of replacing that with a software-defined radio, and I certainly don't need. So it's either going to go to a local hand in Delaware, which there really aren't many. There's no club in Delaware like this. Or anyone here that would want something like that, I would throw it in the back of the car one time when we're coming out. Went to a good home, that would be great. Otherwise, it's going to go to electronics recycle stuff. It works all ahead, 3 to 30. Yeah, megacycles.
Did you have something for show and tell?
Specializes teletype, that kind of stuff. Has a BFO, Morse code. I think it had a 1 kilocycle filter or something like that in it as well. When I was a novice, I used to use that as my receiver, and I had my own transmitter to go with it, and click the switches to switch back and forth. It was back in the day. And so it has a warm spot in my heart, but it has no position anymore. I just can't lug that stuff around anymore.
All of us have a certain amount of that sort of stuff, and we call them boat anchors.
That's why I started.
Well, this is a fully functioning computer right here. It has Linux on it. It has a 1 gigahertz processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, and 4 gigs of hard drive. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I'll pass it around. It was $9.
Started out.
Pardon?
The funding for it.
It's a Kickstarter project, so if you're looking to purchase one of these, just type in CHIP, CHIP in all caps, and then type Kickstarter afterwards. I think they're going to be doing another run of these in June, and you'll be able to have a $9 fully functioning Linux computer.
Doesn't it run Windows?
I think there is like a Windows, a micro Windows.
Yeah, Windows 10 RT.
Yeah, that's it.
It'll do, it's an ARM processor, so.
Yeah, it's an R8 processor. So I'll pass it around and you can see what $9 it gets you.
And it does have ports, so you can plug things in.
Yeah.
See a USB. Well, it uses composite video.
It uses composite video, but you can also buy a stack that'll either do VGA or HDMI.
And the stack is $2,000?
No, it's another $14 or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Do the drawing.
What were the things we have for the drawing?
So the door prizes or drawing prizes are an ICOM IC2AT. Jerry, yes, it's a 2AT.
Crow 2.
Yeah. And Jerry just pointed out to me that I don't have the right manual, but I do have the manual someplace. It comes with a battery pack that you add six AA cells, or you can buy rechargeable NiCad type packs. So that's number one. A handbook, low band DXing by a Belgian ham, John de Boldere, ON4UN, who's kind of the expert on 80 and 160, if you're interested in that. It's got a wealth of information. And then the other one, QRP Power. That may sound like an oxymoron to you, but it's a collection of articles from QST on low power communication. So some people that are into emergency communication are into QRP because it takes so little power to do so. So with that being said, you get your choice.
We got some more over here.
Oh, we got more door
Yeah.
choices?
Yeah.
What do we
What
got?
did
We don't have to give them all away. I mean, I didn't know that we had 3 there too.
You want to save them for the next meeting?
Some of them. Let's get rid of a calendar. We got a calendar.
Okay.
What calendar?
Too many things.
A lead calendar?
Yeah, leave calendar.
Okay.
Report comes up.
This is a good time to get that
So,
So let's give away one of those each.
Russell.
Russell,
okay,
I got one?
yeah, you're first.
so what would you like to choose? Calendar, book?
I propose, let's see. I am impressed at our 2 young new hands over here. Are you brother and sister?
Yeah, I'm not actually a ham.
But you will be, right?
Today.
All right, I'm going to take my award, give it to these 2 for their very first radio.
Now, with that prize, we'll give you some help on how you get the batteries and and thank you, Russ. That's what I'm hoping to have. We'll get you some help on how to get the electricity to that.
Got a trained dad here to do that. Okay, K0VXP is the next one.
Calendar.
Hand this around to Russ and Jim.
Ken Brown.
Ken, there you go. Just grab one of those. Power supply.
So, what would you like?
Emergency power.
Book, low band DXing, or a grid locator map?
QRP one.
Yeah, the emergency power is not.
Okay.
Is that the right one?
Thanks, Karen.
Richard. A-I-L-E.
That's
You
you.
got it, Richard.
What have you got down there? With my call sign?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
you run it on.
your choices, Richard, low band DXing or a grid locator map?
Okay, thank you very much.
So what do we have, a couple grid locators?
I think we've got 4 of them.
Okay.
Oh, well.
It's like length through,
Five.
yeah. K30I.
And I.
I cannot,
That's you.
And
that writing.
Can't read your writing, you better clear that out.
So what do I choose in from?
You get a,
From a grid locator or a grid
Hell, I don't have one of those.
K0.
The whole state is one square.
Yep, KD0WAH. Is that the end?
Oh, I see it.
Pass one of these around to Joe.
I think they have 4 of those.
There you go. One more?
2 more.
2 more, okay.
Thank you.
Bob Iyer.
Okay,
N0OKC.
yeah.
One more.
This says something about your handwriting, guys.
Ken. KW5AW.
Right here, Ken, there you go. That's it, huh?
Not feeling good.